Good evening. I'd like to call a Town of Pownell Select Board meeting to order. It's Tuesday, October 23rd. We start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you please rise, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the accounts payable warrant number 11 in the amount of $300,048.47.
I will move that we pay AP warrant number 11 in the amount of $300,048.47.
I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to approve AP warrant number 11, the amount of $300,048.47. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is payroll journal number 164, in the amount of $8,661.55.
I will move that we pay payroll journal number 164 in the amount of $8,661.55.
I'll second that motion. It's been moved and seconded to approve payroll journal number 164 in the amount of $8,661.55. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Hi, Kate.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Next item on the agenda is the minutes of October 16th, 2023.
I will move that we accept the minutes of October 16th, 2023 as printed.
I will second that motion. Excellent minutes, Ms. Holt. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? of Approving the minutes? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comment. This is time for anyone from the town of Pownell, a resident of the town of Pownell, to step forward and be heard by the select board. Do we have any members from the public that would like to be heard by the select board? Seeing none, I'll move on. Next item is department head reports. All department head reports can be found on the website. Go to the department tab and click on that. You'll find the department head reports. Is there any questions from the select board to the department head that is now here?
I have none.
I'm none.
Chief Peters sends his regrets, but he could not be here this evening.
Okay. Anything to report out from the select board at this time?
We have a second estimate for generator at the PCWA, and we're gonna submit them, the two that we have, to Cumberland County and see if they'll be okay with that.
It'd be nice to get it in before the
It would,
incident, right?
it would.
Thank you for doing that, Andy. Kate, anything to, and I have nothing at all. Next item on the agenda is new business. The federal opera grant, once again, we have about $98,000 that we have to continue to consider how we're gonna utilize that. That's why that's a placeholder on the agenda. Next item, I think we're just going to have to wait until Becky comes up. It's the special town meeting proposed timeline. And I'm not sure. So let's just table that for a second.
Here she is,
All right.
very opportune.
For a minute to settle.
Okay, what are we on?
We are on special town
Okay.
meeting proposed timeline.
Okay, with the change to January 22nd, my proposed timeline is to have public hearings on December 11th and December 18th.
Okay,
Then the signing of the warrant would be January 8th, 2024. And then the special town meeting on January 22nd, 2024.
all right. Does anybody have any discussion about those proposed changes? So then I move that we adopt the timeline and the date for the special town meeting to be held in the voting room or here.
I have a question.
Go.
Is there anything, those of you that are more closely involved with the planning board, is there anything that they especially need from us regarding preparedness around this whole thing so that they will be ready in January? Do they have adequate resources? Do they have adequate support?
That is an excellent question. That I hesitate to respond to now that we're reporting. But I think everything they've asked for, we've been able to give them. They have legal advice, they have the North Star planning. Our new town planner hasn't really had time to get invested, but
It would just be really nice to see it not have to get put off again.
I think it's in their hands. I think they need to decide things. Help me with words here. It's from an outsider's view, it's hard to imagine that we're not ready by now. They keep editing and amending, changing. To me, that gives me a sinking feeling that they don't quite have. Since they're the authors and the editors, the select board has a very hard position. Andy, do you have?
I agree with that statement. Yeah.
Becky, would you?
Yes, and we weren't able to be at the meeting last week because we had another meeting, but we will be at their meeting next month, so we'll know for certain if they're ready. The November meeting.
And as it's truly not time sensitive. I mean, there is a sense that it needs to get done, but if it doesn't get done in January, then we'll just wait until June. I guess that's not my position to state, but that would be the natural consequence. We just have to decide what the final form wants to be. Good question.
Thank you.
So I'm going to move that we agree to the timeline proposed, which should be public hearings on the 11th of December and the 18th of December. Sign the warrant on January 8th. We have a special town meeting, January 22nd. We should decide on the location with my motion. Can we do it here? You think it'll be bigger than here?
I think we could do it in this room. And I will second your motion.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to have the timeline approved, special town meeting, January 22nd, here in the DeWitt room. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you, Becky. Next item, agenda, supplemental bills. Count 916 for tax year 2022, 2023. Can you help me with this one? Are these from Donna?
Yes, I believe they're for 2 years in a row. If I remember reading her letter correctly, it has to do with assessing the property value that was missing from the last 2 years. So it's just a correction. So it's a supplemental bill to send to the homeowner.
Okay, I'm just trying to see if there's a dollar amount or we're just gonna be agreeing.
She should have a dollar amount on those documents. Or typically she does.
Attached, please find paperwork for 2 years of supplemental assessments for a new house that was not assessed in error. This house was permitted and identified as map 6, lot 33. The original lot of Gray Ghost Construction in Meadowbrook subdivision. It is actually lot 6 of the subdivision. This property was sold to Sherry B on November 8th, 2021. And the tax bills that were sent for April 1st, 2022-23 tax years had a land-only valuation. State law allows municipalities to supplement for 3 years whenever there is an admitted assessment. I attached a copy of the letter sent to the owner of record along with the paperwork for 2022, 2023 taxes. But there's no attached letter. So I'm going to move that we approve the supplemental bill to the account 916 for tax year 2022. So that we can accept the payment.
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? You understand what happened? Good. All in favor?
Did she provide the forms that you're supposed to sign?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, and there is the total. That's where it is. Dig.
Just out of curiosity, what was the total?
For 1 year it was 5,961. And the next year it was 6,243. Here, do you need the account detail?
No, I do not need.
Nor this is just a copy of the certificate of occupancy.
I think that was just for your reference. I just need the two signed. Yep.
So that was we dealt with that a month ago, right? Middle of the night. Okay, next item on the agenda is the DeWitt Room rental procedure with new AV equipment. And we could include as well, standard operating procedure with AV equipment. Go, Becky.
So just talking about how we manage this room now with all this AV equipment. So if we rent this room, all of this has to be packed up and stowed away, then it all has to be set back up again. Also with the hanging, on the wall, the protection of that. So I just wanted to bring up, how do we want to move forward with this room with the investment that we've put in?
So the question becomes, do we want to continue to rent this room, given it now has restrictions? Or do we want to restrict rental of the room and move our rentals to the stage room, downstairs, or let's have a discussion on that.
Well, my understanding is it's gonna take about an hour to tear down and an hour to set back up. My preference would be that we don't rent this room.
So how many times a year do you rent this?
So currently I have done 3 rentals this year and it hasn't been this room for any of them. We just had a birthday party in the stage room over the weekend. We have a Christmas party coming up. They wanted the voting room, and earlier in the year, I believe it was the voting room for that one as well. And it was just their preference.
Kathy, as
BMA would be the one that rents the whole building.
so in that rental, we're going to have to include proviso for all this equipment.
BMA has reserved the dates. They have not paid yet.
Well, what are the recommendations for BMA? We would have to tear this down and store it somewhere. So
It kind of gets stored in that table area where all the controls are, but that would be in the corner. It still has to stay up in this room.
and what are the restrictions to hanging things on the sound?
Well, as long as they're not pinning to the soundproofing, like they could hang off those boards, which is typically, I think, what they do. But they can't pin or tape or nail to the soundboard.
Okay, so we'll have to write up a SOP for
Mhm.
this rent room.
The other piece is who's gonna tear it down. With me being the only one in the office right now, I can't come up here for an hour on Thursday unless I'm doing it after we're closed. And then I've got to get it set back up the following Monday because there's a meeting, I believe, the following Monday. If I got my dates correct.
We do a price increase for tear down and set up.
I think more importantly is, can we get somebody to do it in a way that will, that they know what they're doing? It's fairly straightforward, but,
I have not torn this down or set it up yet. Headlight has done all that up to date, just so you're aware. I have yet to be doing that.
Bill Schmidt, Polar Range Road. I would also hesitate on renting this room with this equipment, because even if you know what you're doing, each time you disconnect something, take this apart, put it back together, there's a good chance something's not gonna work.
you're absolutely right. That's why we're thinking. That's why we're. All right,
Would Jenna be willing to help out with that?
I would have to check. She's coming on, budget committee is about to start up.
so. Fairly important part.
Mm-hmm.
They use this room. BMA uses this room.
They did 2 years ago. Last year, they could not because of the elevator.
They couldn't use the whole upstairs last year.
They typically use all 3 rows and every corner. So even putting equipment in that corner could affect what they do.
Well, I'm certainly not willing to imperil this equipment just for a room. I appreciate you. So maybe the easiest thing to do is to.
Something stuck in the overpass
Maybe we should make a blanket statement that we're not renting this room anymore. I just don't think right now we have the personnel. I wouldn't trust myself to take this place. So what do you think about that, Kate?
I tend to agree with you that it's just partly because we're short-staffed, I think, at least for now, probably a good idea to just not rent the room. And
Andy?
that could always change next year, but it really is once a year that, and I understand why they really want or need this space as well, so it's not an easy decision to make.
Oh, just the value of the equipment that we have in this room. I don't want to take a chance on screwing it up. So I would agree with not renting it until such time as we have the capability of tear down and set back up. And on a limited basis then.
So. I guess that's just a policy so that we will limit rental of the DeWitt room for now until we become more able to be flexible with the equipment. Kathy?
The only thing I can see The only thing I can see that might be problematic is that the elevator comes into this room. So if you're renting that room and the room downstairs, you're gonna have people coming through this room. So how do you address that?
Like that.
Can I just answer? We could actually put a partition during that time, so that way there's just sort of a
Coming-
hallway, yeah,
yeah.
as they come through, back and forth.
That's a great question, Kathy. Okay, so I move that we adopt a temporary policy concerning DeWitt room rentals. And that policy shall state that it will not be available to the public until which time as we are able to adapt to the new equipment.
I'll second that.
Seconded. Is there any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, so now let's talk about what we do with different committees that come into the room. I think Becky, you have some anecdotes about the room being changed without.
So I'm gonna reach out to all boards and committee chairs to introduce that the room is available and find out interest if they want to record their meetings, so I can start setting up times when I can come and show somebody in the boards and committees how to start it up and start the recording. The room could still be used even if you don't want to record. I'm just going to ask that nothing be moved, tables not be moved, microphones, things like that, because then that requires coming up and trying to put it all back together. Or you can use the voting room, that except around election time is pretty much available for use for meetings as well. And some committees prefer that room because it's bigger.
Tables are movable.
Correct.
So I think it'll be important to say that if you need table space, you need bigger tables than what's available to it, then you should be using voting or the stage room if they want to. Or,
Correct.
is that agreeable?
Agreed.
Okay. So can we leave that up to you to reach out?
Yes, I plan to start drafting an email tomorrow to get it introduced, so that way we can start getting more committees that are interested recorded and uploaded for residents to view.
Thanks for doing that. All right, next time on the agenda is a 3% transfer of funds for our town planner computer now. Just for the general edification, where we vote every year on town meeting to allow the select board the ability to transfer 3% of any budget line item in order to pay for a needed item or an emergency. So we would like to, this is a conversation that Becky and I have had. We'd like to get the town planner's computer up and running so that he can be more efficient. We agreed to use the ARPA funds to pay for that computer. So the funds have been agreed by the board, but we have to wait for a town meeting vote to release the grant fund to pay for the computer. So it's my suggestion that we take 3% from
The health insurance line, which is E0105020030.
and buy the computer with the proviso that when the ARPA funds are agreed to be released, that the money gets returned to the aforementioned numbered fund.
I'm agreeable to that. And I'll second if that was a motion.
That is a motion. I have to say the number again. It was moved and seconded that the select board will transfer. And do you have a dollar amount?
$2,087.
$2,087 from,
Expense line 0105020030.
to purchase the town planner computer and that upon town meeting vote, replenish that said fund with the money from federal ARPA. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? So carried. Would you just report out a little bit about Tom? I think you're finding it to be a good working relationship.
Yes, our town planner has been on board for about 2 weeks. He's been a lot of fun over the last 2 weeks. He's been very knowledgeable, really diving in, asking lots of questions, doing lots of research. Great suggestions, asked a lot of questions, has attended the Future Facilities Committee meeting, the Planning Board meeting so far. He's just really been a kind of joy to have in the office the last couple of weeks. Really appreciate his help.
So that's a real
Well-
optimistic beginning.
I gave him a tour of the Pownell Center Water Association, and asked to see it and see what was up with that. And
And what I had is hours been typically, when does he?
His first week, he did 29 hours. His second week, he did 31. He's going for 30. So there might be some weeks where he might go a little bit over and he just would, make up the difference on the other end. He asked me about that and I said that was perfectly fine. He even took on a couple of maintenance issues for Mallet Hall for me last week. So I appreciated that.
So there will be a point, getting back to your original question, where he will be working with the planning board on the conservation subdivision. I'm gonna ask him after one more week to start looking at, make recommendations so that he's at least looked at it and tried to decipher what they're asking and help them along.
He has read it.
He has.
Yes, I've kept him in the loop of what came through last week. So he has hard copies and he's been reviewing it.
So it's further along. It's great. More eyes on that document. Is there any other new business to come before? Yes, Bill.
On that topic, Tom was at the planning board meeting on Tuesday, Wednesday rather, and he was fantastic. He provided a lot of input, you could already tell that he had a lot of knowledge about what they were doing, what they'd done. He definitely had read it in advance, had a lot of good feedback. It's really great.
So you might want to report out under new business of our evening activities on that Wednesday.
So John and I attended a GP-COG meeting last Wednesday. It's really a collaboration of local towns. I believe it was Gray, Yarmouth, North Yarmouth, New Gloucester, Durham, and Pownell, chairs of their select boards or respective councils and their town managers. And it was really just sort of a round robin to talk about things going on in your town where you could use help and collaboration. So they mostly focused on personnel and labor. Seemed to be what a lot of people talked about, employee retention. They do want to get back together in January to talk about growth and things, how towns are managing that. And they did this in the Lakes region and felt like it was really helpful to connect the towns together with the leadership and the councils and select boards to just help and support each other.
All right, so if there's no other new business, I will go to old business. Is there any old business? I reached out. Yes,
I wasn't sure if this is old business or correspondence. I just have copies of our edited outline for the easements
okay,
you guys can have. And then when we know when the public hearings are, we would be presenting this as part of those public hearings, which we thought were tonight.
December 11th is December 8th.
Okay. So I have a copy for each of you, and then I could, if it's all right, Becky, I'd email you a copy and then we can make some copies from the.
Absolutely.
copier. Just keep everyone up to date.
So where, Matt, are you?
Thank you, Matt.
in terms of-
I can make copies right from this.
Or I can email you the file. from
Actually,
Jan-
yes,
Jan
do that.
sent it as a Document.
Because I can upload that.
So Matt, are you saying that this is there was a back and forth between Conservation Commission and the Land Trust? Is this,
In Royal River, yep.
the final agreement?
This is yes, this is not the final agreement. This is an outline to work on the terms. So Adam is working on drafting the easement proposal that will then be able to show the town attorney side. Then once that's agreed or negotiated, then we'd have a final document to finally present to the town for a vote. So, because like we had talked about, the town can't vote on anything unless it's the real document. So that, the wheels are in motion, but we worked hard on this to try to keep the town to have as much power over it still, but have it protected. So I think it's a good outline and a good start.
Thank you, Matt. We've been looking forward to seeing this. Thank you. I just want to make sure that I was clear that when you asked to present at a public hearing, there wasn't something that you wanted to have voted on as a special time.
No, this is just to share information and keep everyone up to date of what's going on and to prepare for those public meetings and votes. So,
Excellent. Thank you. I look forward to reading it. Any questions from the rest of the board?
May have some after I read it.
Is there any other old business? I've reached out to Freeport High School. There is an AV club. And so there are potential students, some from Pownell that are in the club that may be willing to become interns. I mean, it's something that's happened in the past at Freeport Town Council meetings, at the Freeport Performing Arts Center. They also work at Meeting House Arts, so we may be in luck. So Mr. Miller could get back to me. I've reached out to the 5th grade of Pownell Elementary. They're very excited to participate in the Brown-tailed Moth grant. We're working together on a unit and public hearing. So that's only been delayed by my inability to get to it. So. Any other old business? Matt?
I do have one more, what time are the public hearings? On December 11th and 18th?
We typically set them for 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay, thank you.
Is there any correspondence? Being done, is there any other business? And I'm going to suggest we move to executive session.
MRSA 405.
I have it. 1 MRSA 4056A.
I need to have that seconded.
Second.
Favor? Thank you for attending. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
A short one. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? We're adjourned.